Chapter 11. Calculation of time from the atom. The material manifestation's ultimate particle, which is indivisible and not formed into a body, is called the atom. It exists always as an invisible identity, even after the dissolution of all forms. The material body is but a combination of such atoms, but it is misunderstood by the common man. Atoms are the ultimate state of the manifest universe. When they stay in their own forms without forming different bodies, they are called the unlimited oneness. There are certainly different bodies and physical forms, but the atoms themselves form the complete manifestation. One can estimate time by measuring the movement of the atomic combination of bodies. Time is the potency of the Almighty Personality of Godhead, Hari, who controls all physical movement, although he is not visible in the physical world. Atomic time is measured according to its covering a particular atomic space. That time which covers the unmanifest aggregate of atoms is called the great time. The division of gross time is calculated as follows. 2 atoms make 1 double atom, and 3 double atoms make 1 hexatom. This hexatom is visible in the sunshine, which enters through the holes of a window screen. One can clearly see that the hexatom goes up towards the sky. The time duration needed for the integration of 3 trasarenus is called a truti, and 100 trutis make 1 vedha. 3 vedhas make 1 lava. The duration of time of 3 lavas is equal to 1 nimesha. The combination of 3 nimeshas makes 1 kshana. 5 kshanas combined together make 1 kashta, and 15 kashtas make 1 laghu. 15 laghus make 1 narika, which is also called a danda. 2 dandas make 1 muhurta, and 6 or 7 dandas make 1/4 of a day or night, according to human calculation. The measuring pot for 1 narika or danda can be prepared with a 6 pala weight or 14-ounce pot of copper, in which a hole is bored with a gold probe weighing 4 masa and measuring 4 fingers long. When the pot is placed on water, the time before the water overflows in the pot is called 1 danda. It is calculated that there are 4 praharas, which are also called yamas, in the day and 4 in the night of the human being. Similarly, 15 days and nights are a fortnight, and there are 2 fortnights, white and black, in a month. The aggregate of 2 fortnights is 1 month, and that period is 1 complete day and night for the Pitta planets. 2 of such months comprise 1 season, and 6 months comprise 1 complete movement of the sun from south to north. 2 solar movements make 1 day and night of the demigods, and that combination of day and night is 1 complete calendar year for the human being. The human being has a duration of life of 100 years. Influential stars, planets, luminaries, and atoms all over the universe are rotating in their respective orbits under the direction of the Supreme, represented by eternal Kala. There are 5 different names for the orbits of the sun, moon, stars, and luminaries in the firmament, and they each have their own samvatsara. O Vidura, the sun enlivens all living entities with his unlimited heat and light. He diminishes the duration of life of all living entities in order to release them from their illusion of material attachment, and he enlarges the path of elevation to the heavenly kingdom. He thus moves in the firmament with great velocity, and therefore everyone should offer him respects once every 5 years with all ingredients of worship. Vidura said, I now understand the life durations of the residents of the Pitta planets and heavenly planets, as well as that of the human beings. Now kindly inform me of the durations of life of those greatly learned living entities who are beyond the range of a kalpa. O spiritually powerful one, you can understand the movements of eternal time, which is the controlling form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because you are a self-realized person, you can see everything by the power of mystic vision. Maitreya said, O Vidura, the 4 millenniums are called the Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali Yugas. The aggregate number of years of all these combined is equal to 12,000 years of the demigods. The duration of the Satya millennium equals 4,800 years of the demigods. The duration of the Treta millennium equals 3,600 years of the demigods. The duration of the Dwapara millennium equals 2,400 years. And that of the Kali millennium is 1,200 years of the demigods. The transitional periods before and after every millennium, which are a few hundred years as aforementioned, are known as Yuga Sandhyas, or the conjunctions of two millenniums, according to the expert astronomers. In those periods, all kinds of religious activities are performed. O Vidura, in the Satya millennium, mankind properly and completely maintained the principles of religion. But in other millenniums, religion gradually decreased by one part, as irreligion was proportionately admitted. Outside of the three planetary systems, Swarga, Martya, and Patala, the four yugas multiplied by 1,000 comprise one day on the planet of Brahma. A similar period comprises a night of Brahma, in which the creator of the universe goes to sleep. After the end of Brahma's night, the creation of the three worlds begins again in the daytime of Brahma, and they continue to exist through the life durations of 14 consecutive Manus, or fathers of mankind. Each and every Manu enjoys a life of a little more than 71 sets of 4 millenniums. After the dissolution of each and every Manu, the next Manu comes in order, along with his descendants, who rule over the different planets. But the 7 famous sages and demigods like Indra and their followers, such as the Gandharvas, all appear simultaneously with Manu. In the creation, during Brahma's day, the 3 planetary systems, Swarga, Martya, and Patala, revolve, and the inhabitants, including the lower animals, human beings, demigods, and pitas, appear and disappear in terms of their fruitive activities. In each and every change of Manu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears by manifesting his internal potency in different incarnations as Manu and others. Thus he maintains the universe by discovered power. At the end of the day, under the insignificant portion of the mode of darkness, the powerful manifestation of the universe merges in the darkness of night. By the influence of eternal time, the innumerable living entities remain merged in that dissolution, and everything is silent. When the night of Brahma ensues, all the 3 worlds are out of sight, and the sun and the moon are without glare, just as in the due course of an ordinary night. The devastation takes place due to the fire emanating from the mouth of Sankarshan, and thus great sages like Bhrigu and other inhabitants of Maharloka transport themselves to Janaloka, being distressed by the warmth of the blazing fire, which rages through the 3 worlds below. At the beginning of the devastation, all the seas overflow, and hurricane winds blow very violently. Thus the waves of the seas become ferocious, and in no time at all the 3 worlds are full of water. The Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, lies down in the water on the seat of Ananta, with his eyes closed, and the inhabitants of the Janaloka planets offer their glorious prayers unto the Lord with folded hands. Thus the process of the exhaustion of the duration of life exists for every one of the living beings, including Lord Brahma. One's life endures for only 100 years in terms of the times in the different planets. The 100 years of Brahma's life are divided into 2 parts, the first half and the second half. The first half of the duration of Brahma's life is already over, and the second half is now current. In the beginning of the first half of Brahma's life, there was a millennium called Brahmakalpa, wherein Lord Brahma appeared. The birth of the Vedas was simultaneous with Brahma's birth. The millennium which followed the first Brahma millennium is known as the Padma Kalpa, because in that millennium, the universal lotus flower grew out of the navel reservoir of water, of the personality of Godhead, Hari. O descendant of Bharat, the first millennium in the second half of the life of Brahma is also known as the Varaha millennium because the personality of Godhead appeared in that millennium as the hog incarnation. The duration of the two parts of Brahma's life, as above mentioned, is calculated to be equal to 1 nimesha, or less than a second, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unchanging and unlimited and is the cause of all causes of the universe. Eternal time is certainly the controller of different dimensions, from that of the atom up to the superdivisions of the duration of Brahma's life. But nevertheless, it is controlled by the Supreme. Time can control only those who are body conscious, even up to the Satyaloka, or the other higher planets of the universe. This phenomenal material world is expanded to a diameter of 4 billion miles as a combination of 8 material elements transformed into 16 further categories within and without as follows. The layers or elements covering the universes are each 10 times thicker than the one before, and all the universes clustered together appear like atoms in a huge combination. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is therefore said to be the original cause of all causes. Thus, the spiritual abode of Vishnu is eternal without a doubt, and it is also the abode of Mahavishnu, the origin of all manifestations. Chapter 12. Creation of the Kumars and Others. Sri Maitreya said, O learned Vidura, so far I have explained to you the glories of the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his feature of Kala. Now you can hear from me about the creation of Brahma, the reservoir of all Vedic knowledge. Brahma first created the nescient engagements like self-deception, the sense of death, anger after frustration, the sense of false ownership, and the illusory bodily conception, or forgetfulness of one's real identity. Seeing such a misleading creation as a sinful task, Brahma did not feel much pleasure in his activity, and therefore he purified himself by meditation on the personality of Godhead. Then he began another term of creation. In the beginning, Brahma created 4 great sages named Sanak, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumar. All of them were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their summons flowing upwards. Brahma spoke to his sons after generating them. My dear sons, he said, now generate progeny. But due to their being attached to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aimed at liberation, and therefore they expressed their unwillingness. On the refusal of the sons to obey the order of their father, there was much anger generated in the mind of Brahma, which he tried to control and not express. Although he tried to curb his anger, it came out from between his eyebrows, and a child mixed blue and red was immediately generated. After his birth, he began to cry, O Destiny Maker, Teacher of the Universe, kindly designate my name and place. The all-powerful Brahma, who was born from the lotus flower, pacified the boy with gentle words, accepting his request, and said, Do not cry. I shall certainly do as you desire. Thereafter Brahma said, O chief of the demigods, you shall be called by the name Rudra by all people, because you have so anxiously cried. My dear boy, I have already selected the following places for your residence: the heart, the senses, the air of life, the sky, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon, and austerity. Lord Brahma said, My dear boy Rudra, you have 11 other names: Manu, Manu, Mahinasa, Mahan, Shiva, Ritadvaja, Ugrareta, Bhava, Kala, Vamadev, and Dritavrata. O Rudra, you also have 11 wives, called the Rudranis, and they are as follows: Ti, Driti, Rasala, Uma, Niyut, Sarpi, Ila, Ambika, Iravati, Swadha, and Diksha. My dear boy, You may now accept all the names and places designated for you and your different wives. And since you are now one of the masters of the living entities, you may increase the population on a large scale. The most powerful Rudra, whose bodily color was blue mixed with red, created many offspring exactly resembling him in features, strength, and furious nature. The sons and grandsons generated by Rudra were unlimited in number, and when they assembled together, they attempted to devour the entire universe. When Brahma, the father of the living entities, saw this, he became afraid of the situation. Brahma told Rudra, "O best among the demigods, there is no need for you to generate living entities of this nature. They have begun to devastate everything on all sides with the fiery flames from their eyes, and they have even attacked me. My dear son, you had better situate yourself in penance, which is auspicious for all living entities, and which will bring all benediction upon you. By penance only shall you be able to create the universe as it was before. By penance only can one even approach the personality of Godhead, who is within the heart of every living entity, and at the same time beyond the reach of all the senses." Sri Maitreya said, "Thus Rudra, having been ordered by Brahma, circumambulated his father, the master of the Vedas. Addressing him with words of assent, he entered the forest to perform austere penances. Brahma, who was empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thought of generating living entities and begot 10 sons for the extension of the generations: Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Bhrigu, Vashishta, Daksha, and the 10th son, Narada, were thus born. Narada was born from the deliberation of Brahma, which is the best part of the body. Vashishta was born from his breathing, Daksha from a thumb, Bhrigu from his touch, and Kratu from his hand. Pulastya was generated from the ears, Angira from the mouth, Atri from the eyes, Marichi from the mind, and Pulaha from the navel of Brahma. Religion was manifested from the breast of Brahma, wherein is seated the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, and irreligion appeared from his back, where horrible death takes place for the living entity. Lust and desire became manifested from the heart of Brahma, anger from between his eyebrows, greed from between his lips, the power of speaking from his mouth, the ocean from his penis, and low and abominable activities from his anus, the source of all sins. Sage Kardama, husband of the great Devahuti, was manifested from the shadow of Brahma. Thus all became manifested from either the body or the mind of Brahma. O Vidura, we have heard that Brahma had a daughter named Vak, who was born from his body and who attracted his mind towards sex, although she was not sexually inclined towards him. Thus, finding their father so deluded in an act of immorality, the sages headed by Marichi, all sons of Brahma, spoke as follows with great respect. O father, this performance in which you are endeavoring to complicate yourself was never attempted by any other Brahma, nor by anyone else, nor by you in previous kalpas, nor will anyone dare to attempt it in the future. You are the supreme being in the universe, so how is it that you want to have sex with your daughter and cannot control your desire? Even though you are the most powerful being, this act does not suit you because your character is followed for spiritual improvement by people in general. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, who, by his own effulgence, while situated in himself, has manifested this cosmos. May he also protect religion for all goodness. The father of all Prajapatis, Brahma, thus seeing all his Prajapati's sons speaking in that way, became very much ashamed and at once gave up the body he had accepted. Later, that body appeared in all directions as the dangerous fog in darkness. Once upon a time, when Brahma was thinking of how to create the worlds as in the past millennium, the 4 Vedas, which contain all varieties of knowledge, became manifested from his 4 mouths. The 4 kinds of paraphernalia for conducting the fire sacrifice became manifest. the performer, the chanter, the offerer, the fire, and the action performed in terms of the supplementary Vedas. Also, the four principles of religiosity, truth, austerity, mercy, and cleanliness, and the duties in the four social orders all became manifest. Vidura said, "O great sage, whose only wealth is penance, kindly explain to me how and with whose help Brahma established the Vedic knowledge which emanated from his mouth." Maitreya said, "Beginning from the front face of Brahma, gradually the four Vedas, Rik, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, became manifest. Thereafter, Vedic hymns which had not been pronounced before, priestly rituals, the subject matters of the recitation, and transcendental activities were all established, one after another. He also created the medical science, military art, musical art, and architectural science, all from the Vedas. They all emanated one after another, beginning from the front face. Then he created the fifth Veda, the Puranas, and the histories, from all his mouths, since he could see all the past, present, and future. All the different varieties of fire sacrifices, Sodashi, Ukta, Parishi, Agnishtoma, Aptoyama, Atiratra, Vajapaya, and Gosava, became manifested from the eastern mouth of Brahma. Education, charity, penance, and truth are said to be the four legs of religion. And to learn this, there are four orders of life with different classifications of castes according to vocation. Brahma created all these in systematic order. Then the thread ceremony for the twice-born was inaugurated, as were the rules to be followed for at least 1 year after acceptance of the Vedas, rules for observing complete abstinence from sex life, vocations in terms of Vedic conjunctions, various professional duties in household life, and the method of maintaining a livelihood without anyone's cooperation by picking up rejected grains. The four divisions of retired life are the Vaikanasas, Valakilyas, Adambaras, and Penapas. The four divisions of the renounced order of life are the Kutichaks, Bhavodas, Hamsas, and Niskriyas. All these were manifested from Brahma. The science of logical argument, the Vedic goals of life, and also law and order, moral codes, and the celebrated hymns Bhu, Bhuva, and Swa, all became manifested from the mouths of Brahma, and the Pranava Omkara was manifested from his heart. Thereafter, the art of literary expression, Ushnik, was generated from the hairs on the body of the Almighty Prajapati. The principal Vedic hymn, Gayatri, was generated from the skin, Trishtup from the flesh, Anushtup from the veins, and Jagati from the bones of the Lord of the living entities. The art of writing verse, Punkti, became manifested from the bone marrow, and that of Brihati, another type of verse, was generated from the life breath of the Lord of the living entities. Brahma's soul was manifested as the touch alphabets, his body as the vowels, his senses as the sibilant alphabets, his strength as the intermediate alphabets, and his sensual activities as the 7 notes of music. Brahma is the personal representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the source of transcendental sound, and is therefore above the conception of manifested and unmanifested. Brahma is the complete form of the Absolute Truth and is invested with multifarious energies. Thereafter, Brahma accepted another body in which sex life was not forbidden, and thus he engaged himself in the matter of further creation. O son of the Kurus, when Brahma saw that in spite of the presence of sages of great potency, there was no sufficient increase in population, he seriously began to consider how the population could be increased. Brahma thought to himself, "Alas, it is wonderful that in spite of my being scattered all over, there is still insufficient population throughout the universe. There is no other cause for this misfortune but destiny." While he was thus absorbed in contemplation and was observing the supernatural power, 2 other forms were generated from his body. They are still celebrated as the body of Brahma. The 2 newly separated bodies united together in a sexual relationship. Out of them, The one who had the male form became known as the Manu named Swayambhuva, and the woman became known as Shatarupa, the queen of the great soul, Manu. Thereafter, by sex indulgence, they gradually increased generations of population, one after another. O son of Bharat, in due course of time he, Manu, begot in Shatarupa 5 children, 2 sons, Priyavrata and Uttanapad, and 3 daughters, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. The father, Manu, handed over his first daughter, Akuti, to the sage Ruchi, the middle daughter, Devahuti, to the sage Kardama, and the youngest, Prasuti, to Daksha. From them, all the world filled with population.